which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Ed Weiner, and I'm Chairman of the Board of Health. And with me tonight are Board of Health members and Vice Chair David McSweeney, Andrea Sheehan, Mary Beth Welch, and Gail DeMore. Our Director of Public Health, Susan Luminello, our Associate Director of Public Health, Michael Green. Christine Mathis, our Environmental Engineer, is remote this evening. And our recording secretary is Eric Bergeron. Please note that we are live on BCAT and available for appropriate comments and questions through this video technology. And thank you for BCAT for what you do for this community, keeping us all aware and so well informed. First order is approval
of minutes, May 10th, 2022.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve May 10th, 2022 minutes.
I have a second by, who was it? Mary Beth. Are there any discussion, omissions, corrections, additions? If not, I'll put it to a vote. All in favor? Aye. That is 5-0-0, Mr. Bergeron. Okay. Which brings me to Chairman's report. Well, summer is here. That means our formal meetings are on summer schedule. For June tonight, July, and August, we will meet only once, the fourth Tuesday of the month. Everything else that we do to keep Burlington healthy will continue as usual. And we're available even for emergency meetings if necessary. The Board of Health has been extremely busy. I want to thank our staff for all their hard work that has already taken place this summer. And board members, I thank you in advance for your necessary availability. It's been very busy. And what appears to be the many upcoming subcommittee meetings that will soon likely be taking place. For instance, we've got the subcommittee on biotechnology, on development, smoking regulations this next week, review of our mission statement, and possibly the addition of a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. The Board of Health scientific and clinical faculty is being put together, and we'll be meeting on that to finalize it. And search and interview committee for our supervisory nurse. Our current supervisory nurse will be leaving us, and we need to find a new professional, and others. And remember, since we are now, as far as the Commonwealth is concerned, out of the pandemic, so I need to remind the board that we have new and specific rules for remote attendance. As you know, it requires special requests and circumstances. Please speak to our Director of Public Health for details. It's going to be a busy summer. And as always, I'd like to remind you that we're always here to discuss any questions that you may have. Our website is a great resource, accessible to everyone anytime. And most important, we're just a phone call away. Now, as always, we're open for comments, discussion, and announcements by our board during Chairman's report. And I think we have a subcommittee report that one of our board members would like to give. Would that be, Andrea?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Based on what seemed to be a lot of housing complaints, a subcommittee was created to just establish and review the details. So Dave McSweeney and myself took the lead on this initiative, and we met with Susan Luminelli and Samantha Hardy on June 8th. And these are the findings from the meeting. In FY20, we had approximately 18 complaints. Only 3 of them required violations, and all of them were closed out, addressed, and corrected. In FY21, we had 16 complaints. Again, all of these were addressed, no violations were found. And currently, in FY22, we had 22 complaints, 7 violations were found, all have been addressed and closed out. So the overall finding of the subcommittee was that we felt it was a good use of our time and a good review of all the complaints. Each complaint was addressed, all of them had detailed explanations, and the situation and the actions taken to correct the situations. All tenants, landlords, and property managers were properly notified, and each complaint was properly addressed and closed. So in the end, we agreed that the review, to do this annually, just to keep an eye on things, but we really didn't see a problem after we delve into all the details. So that's really what came out of it, so that's the updated.
Wonderful. Do we need to approve that, Susan? No. Terrific, thank you very much. Beautiful report, excellent, outstanding. Citizens' time. Is there anyone who is not part of our agenda who would like to speak to the board? Anybody here? I think everybody here is for a hearing. Is there anybody online?
There are some people online. I'm not sure if anyone's here for citizens' time or the other items on the agenda.
If you are here for something that is not in our agenda, please speak up. So I guess we're okay. Everybody's here. Since tonight's hearing will take some time, I'm going to ask for a motion to take the kennel licenses out of order.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. McSweeney. Do I have a second by Andrea? All in favor?
Aye.
So we have two. One is for 16 Keens Road, and the other is 2 Westwood Street. Susan,
Yes, so 16 Keens
Are
Road.
Susan, are the applicants here?
Yeah, so I can't see their names, so if you're here for 16 Keens Road, I think Maureen Gainley. Are you here, Maureen?
Yeah.
Okay, she's on the
Excellent.
line.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
So Maureen is applying to the town clerk's office for a kennel license for the keeping of 4 dogs. She has 1 medium to large dog and 3 small dogs. And I conducted an inspection with the animal control officer, didn't see any issues about the dogs or keeping of the dogs, the outside area or the inside area. And my recommendation is to vote to provide a favorable recommendation to the town clerk for the issuance of the kennel license.
Ms. Gainley, do you have anything that you'd like to present or say?
No, I just wonder where I'd pick it up.
Well, we haven't voted on it yet, but we will.
And you would contact the town clerk's office for that.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I asked you when you were there, or talked to you about different things, so I really don't have any other questions.
good, that's fine. Since we have a positive recommendation from our Director of Public Health, do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'm sorry.
Wait 1 minute.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
So moved. Second?
I second.
Second. Do we have any discussion?
There's no butters get notified, there's no butters on the phone, I'm assuming, on these?
No one on the phone. We haven't received complaints.
Okay.
The animal control officer hasn't, as far as I know. Yeah, I mean, they do have abutters, but I don't believe part of the town clerk's
Is to notify.
is to notify.
Okay, great, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Recording secretary, that was second by Gail Demore. Okay, I should have spelled, sorry.
That's okay.
If all in favor?
Aye.
5-0-0. We have a second kennel license, 2 Westwood Street.
Yes, so that is Emily Kayon. Emily, are you on the line? Is someone on the line for 2 Westwood Street? So we have another call-in person.
Do you,
The other calling person is me, Christine.
Oh, okay.
My audio failed on my computer, so I have my video up, but I will start calling.
Okay, so it looks like we don't have anyone on the
is
line.
that an issue?
No, I mean, in this instance, Samantha Hardy went out there on June 24th. They're the owner of 4 medium-sized dogs. They're put out in a fenced-in yard. They collect the waste and throw it in the trash barrel. And her recommendation was to provide a favorable recommendation to the town clerk, because she didn't see any issues. So we can go ahead and move forward with that, and they can contact the town clerk for their actual kennel license.
We have done this before, since we do have a positive recommendation. I'll leave that to the board. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the
Yep.
kennel license for 2 Westwood.
I have a motion by Mr. McSweeney. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mary Beth Welch. Any other discussion? Nobody has any issues with this?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0-0. Which takes us to our hearing, 111 Middlesex Turnpike. It's listed as a nuisance violation and presented by our Director of Public Health, Susan Luminello.
Yes, so, I'm sharing something now. I have a short presentation that I wanted to go through.
Can you see it?
We can see it on the screen.
Yep.
Yes.
Would you like us up here, or?
Would it, sure, why don't you come up? Would that be all right? Are you-
Sure.
Okay, come up.
So I'll go through the slides that I have, and then we can go through any questions that you have for either myself. We have
We have 4 people
town
from the town.
engineer and the superintendent of public works here, and representatives from conservation or the applicants.
Yes, we have Mr. Larry Cohen, who is chairman of our Conservation Commission, Tom Hayes, who is our town engineer. We have John Sanchez, director of Department of Public Works, who I saw Sunday out there. I didn't know who was stalking me coming up, made me nervous. And lastly, we have John Keeley, who was director of the Conservation Commission, who are here from the town, as well as our staff. So, please,
Okay.
go ahead.
So, first thing is the timeline. I did provide in your backup materials a detailed timeline, so I'm just gonna go through this fairly quickly, and then in the end, if you have any questions about that, just let me know. So in 1991, that's when the site plan was approved. In 2004, certificates of compliance or order conditions was issued by the Conservation Commission. That's also included in your materials as attachment 2, if you wanted to look at that. I did highlight 2 areas of that order of conditions. One being that the applicant shall inspect and clean the drainage structures and detention basins on site, not less than once a year. And the other one refers to structures of the stormwater drainage system shall be inspected at least once a year. In 2010, a report was prepared by Lucas Environmental detailing the cleaning of the basins and the drainage pipes. And that is also included in your materials attachment 3. In 2019, that's when the Board of Health received the complaint and issued the order letter to the property owner in response to that complaint. That order is also in your materials as attachment 4. And then throughout 2019, there was some correspondence between myself and Attorney Mark Vaughn regarding trying to resolve the matter, and some correspondence from Brian Dundon, who is the engineer from R.G. O'Connell, representing the property owner, and that correspondence was to DPW. It was an email talking about the flooding issue appeared to have gone away in 2017. And then in 2017, Brixmor began the process of approvals for the basin for cleaning. So that can be a very extensive process because there is an endangered species in that basin. So they have to get a lot of different approvals to clean out the basin. In that correspondence, it states that they were anxious to resolve the issue of their parking lot, but with the rise in the water levels of the Vine Brook, it prohibited them from performing the maintenance of the stormwater basin. So that was correspondence from 2019. And then in other correspondence, we had a site visit in November 2019 between myself, representatives of Brixmor, Attorney Vaughn, John Sanchez, Tom Hayes, and the engineer for the property. There was a discussion regarding the height of the Vine Brook and the flow of the stormwater at that meeting. And it was agreed at the end of that a field work survey would be done to kind of look at the heights of the water levels and the stormwater by their engineer. So in 2020, correspondence with Attorney Vaughn, the field survey was completed and they were putting together an action plan. And then by the end of 2020, they were beginning the process of cleaning out the sediment in the basins. And then in 2021, in March of 2021, the basins were cleaned and a report was produced by Lucas Environmental again, which is in your materials as attachment 9. And that report documents the cleaning of the basins, but does not mention the cleaning or inspection of other drainage structures on the site, meaning the stormwater, the pipes underneath the parking lot and the catch basins. And then in April and May of 2021, the parking lot flooding issues persisted. Some of our board members saw the issue was still going on out there. We had never actually closed out the original order of conditions. And then we had some correspondence from Brixmor. This is attachment 10 to DPW. Again, talking about the rise in Vine Brook. And then August of 2021, I reached out to the Conservation Department because I knew in the order of conditions there was that requirement to take a look at the drainage structures to see if they had anything in their files on the drainage inspection. And they didn't have any. Conservation reached out to Brixmor requesting that. It hadn't been completed as far as I knew in 2021. And then we asked them to come to this meeting in 2022. And last Friday, I did receive a report that they had sent us through email, which is the last attachment there in your materials. And it's a brief report on an inspection of some drainage structures on site. So I didn't get to speak to anybody about that report, and I do have some questions about that as well. So that's like the history. So in this next slide, it's this plot plan. This is the plan from the original construction in 1991. So I've highlighted some areas here. So as you can see, in yellow is the basin, and then in the back, I'm calling this the Vine Brook tributary because I'm not sure if it is Vine Brook. I think it may be a tributary of Vine Brook. And then the green lines are stream divisions. Now, these are stream diversions, so when they built the initial site, they had to divert the water going across the site to these pipes that now are going into the basin. The basins are designed to hold water, and then they overflow into the Vine Brook tributary through the spillway. So in the upper left corner here is a spillway. So when the basin gets full, it's designed to overflow from the spillway into the Vine Brook tributary. The purple lines show the catch basins. So this is the catch basins and the underlying drainage structures for the stormwater for the parking lot. So as you can see on the far left is catch basin 16. So there's one catch basin there that collects the water, and that flows directly into the basin. And then the other catch basin system, we have the catch basin 13 on the upper right. That's where the flooding was occurring. And that flows into the DMH10 down into this underground stream diversion system, and then it all goes down into the basin. There's an area shown here from catch basin 13 in red. I drew a little line here in red. That's kind of like that's where the water is flowing. So the water is flowing from, when the water collects in this area of catch basin 13, it overflows and goes down into this Vine Brook tributary area. So I do have a video that was taken, but let me see if I can get this to, I don't think I can get this to run here, but I'm gonna share it. One moment. So this video was taken by John Sanchez, and it shows, so this is showing the flooded area. There's that catch basin 13.
Is this last week, Susan?
I do have the date. This was on June 6th. And as you can see, the flow of the water, this is going through this channel from the catch basin down into the Vine Brook tributary.
Do you know how deep that is?
This puddle here, or it varies in depth as I've seen it. So, let me just go back. Let me play it one more time. Maybe we can try to tell here.
I took a video Saturday. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's
Monday.
probably a few inches, 2 to 4 maybe. Yeah, maybe more.
Same thing.
Yep. Okay.
It was Monday, yesterday.
Is that the typical amount of buildup of water, 2 to 4 inches all the time, or just recently?
Well, so, I've seen it at different levels, and I guess that would depend on how much rain. So it did rain
So it doesn't-
yesterday,
So it varies, okay.
and I think you were out there yesterday. Ed, right?
12:20, it was a lake, and the water was flowing from, the catch basins were overflowed. There was nothing going into the catch basins because they were completely submerged, and the water was flowing over the catch basins and from the very large area down some type of a pathway that had been created, a spillway into the brook.
I have to say, I've been out there dozens of times, because I shop in that plaza quite frequently. Including today, I was there just before the board meeting. Today was the only day that there was no standing water there, out of the dozens and dozens of times I've been there.
And I will say, so this parking lot was built in the floodplain. So,
Right.
if there's a large storm event, and, it is possible that this tributary would overflow in a very large storm event, because this is in the area of a floodplain. But what we saw there yesterday, there was no overflow, or even in the past, from what I've seen, no overflow from the tributary into the parking lot. It's really around that one catch basin, and then it's flowing down into that little, written
Little red
pathway
area.
made by itself into the
Sluice.
tributary, yes. Okay. And then these are just some pictures. So the video taken by John on June 6th, saw that, and then on June 7th, I went out there. So that video that you saw, the next day, it was pretty much, there was still water there, but pretty much dried up. And then there was a photo taken again on the 10th. And I believe in the materials of the report that was just given on Friday, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was June 6th that these people were out there inspecting the drainage system. And it had said in that report that they removed some debris, although it didn't say from where they removed it. I don't know if they did any work around this catch basin, or they didn't name this catch basin in particular in their report. So I'm not sure what happened on June 6th with regards to this area. And that was, June 6th was the day that John was out there and this video was taken.
Susan, the agreement to inspect and clean yearly, is the agreement has that, do you have records that it's been
So-
inspected and cleaned yearly?
That agreement is with the Conservation Commission, so I don't know if they want to speak to that, but we wouldn't receive those
Right.
records, the
But
Conservation
If they
Commission.
had, okay, and you also mentioned you don't have, and maybe it's in their records too, if the additional pipes were cleaned as well. so they don't know if there's a blockage, right?
Yeah, so that's the thing, that was kind of why I wanted to get those reports to see if they had cleaned it out in the past or there was any kind of blockage in the area.
And this.
And it's unclear, I think, from the recent report.
Okay. And then the last picture here, that looks like there's like debris in the parking lot. Who owns the responsibility when they overflow to,
For trash?
yeah, in that department?
So any trash is, that's, different thing under the Board of Health, and that's the responsibility of the property owner.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing and can you answer any questions?
Does the board have any questions before we go?
Not,
to-
not for Susan.
And I just want to point something else. I was there 3 times over the weekend. It's a very nice commercial piece of property. It's a very nice plaza, but you got a problem there. I mean, during the winter, it's tough there. It's in that area when things melt, and I know you put all the snow. Your people there are very nice. I met Kathy last time I was out there. She was very professional. We just want to get this fixed. It's a potential, a potential dangerous situation for your shoppers, and especially during the ice area and whatever. We gotta just fix this, and let's talk about that tonight, and we're not here to give you a hard time. We just wanna fix this. And this has been going on for 32 years when they approved it. And I didn't have gray hair 32 years ago when I was the one that made you put the fence up around that, which is now different. It was wood. And Mr. Buckley called it Weiner's Wall. But it worked then. It's not working now. So, do you want to present, how would you like to move on with this?
I'd like to hear from the applicants. Yeah.
Why don't we hear from the applicants? We've got 4 professionals from the town. Mr. Vaughn?
Yeah, why don't I just start if I could, and I certainly appreciate your comments, Mr. Chairman, and for the record, Attorney Mark Vaughn with Reamer Bronstein, representing Brixmore, with Brian Dundon is a professional engineer with R.J. O'Connell, who I think Susan had mentioned, and also Mary Hollebeck, who is Director of Property Management for Brixmore, the property owner. So what I can say to you is that our interests are very much aligned. We don't want that situation to be happening as it is, and, we have been doing everything, we feel, to try to address the situation and be able to prevent that ponding from taking place. So I know that Susan did a very good job of kind of going through a little bit of a chronology over the past few years, and I know we've met out at the site before, myself, Brian, Mary, other folks from Brixmore, and I know that John Sanchez and Tom Hayes were part of those meetings that we had out there. I lose track of time easily. I'm not sure how long ago it was. I want to say maybe 2 years ago, but we too are trying to figure out why it is that this is happening the way it is. And just so you know, Brixmore was not the original developer of the site. They actually acquired the property. I forget when, Mary, but it was.
It's in the timeline.
Right in the timeline.
It was in
Yeah,
there.
so they
2004.
okay, so that, they didn't build the site or get the original approvals and all that. That's neither here nor there. They own it now, and they've been trying to figure out what it is that's causing the water to pond as it has. And I know Brian has gone through it pretty exhaustively, and there was a huge undertaking that they went through about, 2 years ago, cleaning out the detention basin and going through the National Heritage process because there is an endangered fish that they had to be dealt with. But so I think we're at a point now where we don't quite know what more we can do to prevent it from happening, respectfully. And Brian, I don't know if you want to just jump in a little bit and.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the record, my name is Brian Dundon, site engineer with R.J. O'Connell and Associates. And again, just to kind of backtrack just a little bit, I think Ms. Luminello's timeline was very accurate, is pretty much the same as I had. I got involved in the property back in September of 2010, when the folks at Brixmor called me in and said they were having this problem with parking lot flooding. So went to site visit and looked at it and said, well, when was the last time the basin was cleaned and whatnot? And they didn't know anything about cleaning of the basin at that point. So I said, I think your problem is that there's been an excessive amount of silt built up in the basin, which is prohibiting the water from transgressing into Vine Brook tributary. So we had the basin cleaned in October of 2010. And then what then transpired back in the spring of 2017, the flooding came back again. And at this point, we figured that, yeah, the basin needs to be cleaned. If it hasn't been cleaned, this is what we'd go through the same exercise again. The only difference at this time around, as Ms. Luminello indicated, the site is very environmentally sensitive, so we needed to do some permitting through natural heritage as a result of the endangered species of fish that was encountered not only in Vine Brook, but in the basin. So we did that, we got a permit, we went back and coordinated with conservation about our work schedule. And then around that 2017, 2018 timeline, we noticed that the parking lot in the summer months was still flooded, and we didn't understand the reason why there was this ongoing issue with water staying in the parking lot, because typically brown water is low in the summertime and water conditions are favorable to clean the basin. We made a decision that, until the water recedes, all we're gonna be doing is pumping water from the basin and Vine Brook back into Vine Brook, so it'll be a never-ending circle of pumping. The water didn't recede in 2018. We had a meeting in 2019 with the town at the site, as documented by Ms. Luminello. And then what we did is we were able to get a window. Back in 2019 too, what we also, again, at the request of engineering and DPW, is we went out and did a survey, an existing conditions field survey, and got some elevations of the existing, we located the existing water edge of where the basin stood in 2019, 2020. And we compared that to the design plans that were done by Sims Maney for that basin. And we noticed that there was an elevation difference of about a foot. And I said, well, that makes a lot of sense as to if the water's up, it's gonna surcharge back and into the drainage system. But what we didn't know is why was the water up? And we still don't understand why. We did have the ability to, in March of 2021, we were able to get the basin cleaned a second time. And that was done by pumping the basin down. It was pumped on a continuous basis to keep it dry. The basin was cleaned. In addition to cleaning the basin, the pipes that connected to that stormwater basin that Ms. Luminello had outlined, I think it was in purple, were also cleaned and jet washed as well. I was there during that time. Unfortunately, I guess it did not make it into that Chris Lucas report, but I was there at that time. So at that time, the pipe structure was in good condition. They seemed to be functioning as designed. And all that was in there was accumulated sand and sediment from the parking lots and transporting, which was a natural occurrence. So, just to summarize, the biggest change that we've seen since I first got involved with it till today is, for some reason, the water elevation in Vine Brook and the associated detention basin / sediment basin located on the Brixmor property is about a foot higher than the intended design grades. And that's where the crux of the problem is. And everyone, I think, my client keeps asking me, well, what can we do about it? I don't know what to do about it because I don't understand the nature of why the water levels have risen a foot over some time between 2010 and 2018. But I do know that, the basin is cleaned. There were some concerns on my client's half that maybe some of the pipe network may have been clogged. I go back to just the latest, the recent rainstorm event that we had this week. Parking lot flooded out. And once the storm, and that was as a result of the water in Vine Brook rising up because to handle the storm. It surcharged back into our parking lot because we're at the lowest elevation within the watershed. Once the storm subsided and Vine Brook got back down to its current levels, the water receded back from the parking lot into the brook. So I believe the pipe network is free and clear. It's not being obstructed because water is flowing and moving. But I believe that, based on current elevations of the water in Vine Brook, which is hydraulically connected to our basin, we're always going to see this situation where during these heavy rainstorm events, there is going to be again, as Ms. Luminello alluded to, we are located in a floodplain, so we're restricted on altering grades. That I think we're in a situation where, unfortunately, that corner of the parking lot is going to have some standing water in it during heavy rainfall events, and until such time Vine Brook recedes back down to the level it is today.
Ms. Mary, I don't know your last name, I'm sorry.
That's fine. It's Hollabeek.
Olaby.
I don't have a lot to add. I will answer any questions you might have. I didn't come to this area until June of 2018, so I only have the history as I've been told and not firsthand like a lot of you folks have. I will say on yesterday's storm that Kathy had told me she had met you out there. I went back out an hour later and 2 hours later, and it was completely receded at those points. So it took less than an hour for it to go back down.
We do have 4 recognized experts here. I'll leave it with either Mr. Sanchez, Mr. Cohen, or whomever. We do have Mr. Keeley and Mr. Hayes. Do any of you want to comment? I guess my issue here is it doesn't make any difference what's causing it. It's got to get fixed.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm obviously they have a professional engineer here who can propose solutions to this. I just want to follow up on yesterday. I did not have a chance to see it when it was flowing yesterday. However, you did share a video with me, and in that video, it shows that the Vine Brook, if I want to call it that, or tributary to the Vine Brook, is significantly lower than the water overflowing from the parking lot. So I just want to understand the statement that you made, Brian, like the water somehow is coming up the brook and making the parking lot overflow, because in fact the video shows the opposite. The Vine Brook is lower and the parking lot is overflowing at a higher elevation. So if I like to be able to understand that from you.
What we have, the way I understand it is that under a condition like today, the water level in Vine Brook, for the sake of discussion, is pretty much at the same elevation as the rim elevation of the catch basin that always floods out. And the reason I believe that's the case is because that's when you look down that catch basin, you see the water level right at the rim. So that is the current state of how everything works. What's that doing is all the drain pipes and our storm drain basin is underwater. So all the water is at an elevation 124 when the design grades are at 123. That parking lot rim is at 124. So when the storm comes up, the Vine Brook elevation is rising up, and the water is surcharging back into the system and pushing out into the parking lot. So when Vine Brook lowers back down to its state, as it's lowering, some of it is going over the curb, and as you saw through that drainage channel, and until a point where it gets lower and lower, then once it gets to the top of the curb, it is then going through the drain pipe system and then out. So yes, when it surcharges back into the site, once it gets to a point where it's above the sloped granite curb, it will be able to flow into Vine Brook. And then as Vine Brook goes lower and lower, it gets back down to what I'm calling the equilibrium state, and the water lowers down to the slope granite curb level. It then uses the pipe network to exit.
So again, if I may, I'm still not able to understand because I've never seen the Vine Brook tributary going higher than that curbing as of to being in the center elevation that it was surcharged a parking lot. So that's the one thing that I didn't notice, and this is my second point that I want to make, is that the spillway from your detention basin is about, what I call it, 2 feet wide, maybe 3 feet wide.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
All right. And if you look at the original plans that Susan had over there, it was supposed to be about 20 feet wide. So, so I don't know if that may have anything to do with it, but and again, the elevation of the spillway as designed, I don't know if that was confirmed during your survey,
Well,
but certainly the channel is not what is shown in the set of plans that is here.
When we performed the survey back in December 2020, we could not locate the various components of the stormwater system. What I mean, the riprap berm that separates the sediment basin from the storm basin, as well as the outfall spillway, because it was all underwater. I guess my intention at that point was to just try to get elevation. What is the water elevation, and compare it to the design grades. What I can tell you is that when we cleaned the basin in March of 2021, the spillway was cleaned and cleared of any sand, sediment, and dead woody debris at that point. So we did see it. We saw all the components. All the components were cleaned at that point.
So if I may, for the
Sure.
So, and I don't have a microphone here, but basically what I'm saying is, this spillway here, per design, shows it's to be about 20 feet wide. If you physically see it over there when it rains, it's growing gateway. So obviously, the full capacity is not as what it's designed on there. That's just coming from regular engineers, so that's my only comment.
Thank you. Do any of other professionals would like to say anything? Mr. Keeley is Director of Conservation.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
I just have one question. I wasn't aware of the survey work. Did you compare the survey, did you do a survey of the elevation of the parking lot and compare it to the original elevation of the parking lot? Maybe from the as-built plan when the site was approved?
We did. I compared it. There was a drawing done by Sims, Manning, McKean. It was an SP-5 drawing, which was a blow-up of that drainage basin. And plus or minus 1/10 of a foot, the rim grades were matched. The rim grades that we field surveyed were pretty much in line with that SP-5 plan.
Okay, the reason I ask is this parking lot was obviously built in a wetland, not just a floodplain. This is filled wetland. We had the adjacent site, which was owned by Mr. David Carls, the property that had Newbury Comics and Duluth Trading. They actually came into the Conservation Commission, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago, and they had flooding issues as well, and they documented to the Conservation Commission that their parking lot had actually subsided over time because it was built also in filled wetlands, and they documented, okay, the original parking lot was agreed to or approved at elevation X, and now our parking lot was X minus whatever it was, I can't remember, 6 inches or foot. They had actually documented that their parking lot had subsided, and that was the problem. The Conservation Commission actually gave them a permit to raise the elevation of the parking lot to the originally approved. So, I mean, that's, I don't know if that's the case here, but it's certainly something that I would, if I were you, I'd investigate.
Do you know if they did the work to raise the driveway?
They did.
They did?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good to know, John.
Yes.
Anybody else? Well,
Mr. Chairman, I have a
sure,
couple.
sure. I just have one question, Mr. Vaughn. One of the issues here is safety, especially during the winter. Isn't some liability issues here? If someone gets hurt, drives into the detention basin, someone gets hit by, my issue here is the water is a nuisance. But I'm worried about the safety of the patrons in that area. And it is, you have on both his on their property and the adjacent property, it's a fairly busy area. You've been there, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I have. I was there this morning, actually, but I frequent the plaza as well. I mean, for Blaze Pizza or whoever's down there on occasion, so I am familiar with it. I don't want to or can't really speak to the liability issue, but we're trying to figure out how to address it and fix it, and we just don't know what more can be done beyond what has been done in order to make it not pond the way it is. I mean, I think, John Keeley raised something that I'm not quite sure that, we may need to check that as to whether the parking lot has depressed over the years, if you would, and maybe it wasn't, what's out there today, based on the survey, might be different from what was approved, but I don't want you to think that we're not looking to do everything within our power to make it not pond the way it is. We just are at a loss now as to how to address it.
But Mark, and nice to see you,
Same.
as always. But it's somewhat disheartening to hear that, we met on this back in 2018, and here we are, 5-6 years later, still not knowing what to do. And Brian, and I forgot your last name, I apologize.
Dundon, yes.
Dundon. Are you an engineer?
Yes.
And have you brought out an engineering company as well to do an analysis of the water, the catch basin that's here, there, and the water?
Yeah, my office did a partial existing conditions survey that was limited to the basin area and the catch basin 13, the ponding area question.
So after 5 years, you can't figure out a solution to fix the issue?
Well, we're trying to address the issue, because we're trying to address the issue. It's all, contingent on the elevation of vibe, because it's all.
Regardless, let me ask you this, if there was a huge sinkhole that opened up in the middle of your parking lot next to Wendy's, would you, and not know where it came from, how it existed, or where it came, would you fix it?
Oh, sure, yeah, sure.
So why is this not a top priority after 5 or 6 years to get it fixed?
Well,
It's not a priority.
Well,
That's not good English here, but.
I understand what you're saying, Mark, but we're sitting here 6 years later.
I understand, but I guess we don't know, we can't figure out how to, I don't think that we can just build the parking lot up.
Well, I don't know, like, have you gone down that path, or have you gone through the path of maybe there needs to be another water management system put in? Like, just to stay there and cleaning sediment is out of the catch basin isn't working for you, and it's not working for us.
I mean, we're at a point we need to fence the area. Do away with that part of the parking lot.
Well,
I mean, you can't fix it, let's do away with it.
That-
I don't want that to be a solution.
yeah, nor do we. Obviously, that creates other
But
issues.
if I'm worried about the safety of people, especially during the winter, here we are, June 28th, and I get it. Now it receded, but it doesn't recede during the winter. It freezes. You put your snow there. Is that you've decided to put? I remember you put snow there. That's you. Maybe it's time to refence. Maybe it's time to say, this isn't part of the parking lot, because we can't make it, the parking lot can't work.
And this is not personal at all, right? And I get, this is your, this
We're
is
trying to be-
your work, right? Plan A isn't working, you need to come up with a plan B, and it needs to be quickly. I mean, I don't know who lives in Burlington or resides here, but I grew up here, my kids grew up here, my wife grew up here. I don't wanna look at it anymore. It's an eyesore, there's garbage in there all the time as I drive through there. There's ducks that float in there, and there's bugs and whatever. It is a health hazard, in my opinion. And like I said, Plan A hasn't worked for you. After 6 years, you gotta come up with a Plan B.
And you have vacancies there now. There are,
Yeah, we do.
old Tower Records is all vacant now, right? This pandemic's gonna be over and it's gonna be fully, you're gonna need that parking lot, but not if it's right, if it's
No,
right.
it's a valuable asset for Brixmor. and
Well, I think that there's something
Yeah.
gotta be done.
Can I just maybe, if I could ask a question through the chair? to
Sure,
Yeah.
sure,
Mr.
please.
The Sanchez. John, do you, I mean, do you think that there's something that needs to be done that hasn't been done? Or Tom, or John, that,
Mark, I think, if I may, that's
yeah,
Please,
because we're at a loss, I'll be honest with you.
That will be for you and the property owner to particularly search for an owner engineer if this one is not giving you the answers you need. Because I'm not gonna design a solution for a private company, so.
No, yeah, I just didn't know what you meant with the spillway, whether if that was that not constructed properly
If I
initially?
may, Mr. Chairman, that was an observation that just by looking and spending about 30 seconds, you can see that the current spillway is about 2 or 3 feet wide compared to what it was shown in the plans. And that's probably about 10 seconds. You can determine that, even a layperson can determine that, by just standing in the fence and looking at that. That was my comment. Now, typically, a larger spillway will carry more water, a smaller one will carry less amount of water. So, but I cannot propose solutions to.
No, and that's
to you.
beyond my pay grade in terms of whether, yeah, that is contributing to it
couldn't
or
be
not.
beyond your pay grade.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Except it's not working, and this last, Mr. Cohen. Mr. Cohen is chairman of the Conservation Commission, and he is also an engineer.
Larry Cohen, Chair of Conservation. I do not have an answer for everything, but what I've heard is basically speculation. I've heard a lot of speculation, whether it's Mr. Sanchez talked about the overflow where, and we have water going into the pond, and someone suggested, I think Mr. McSweeney suggested, perhaps a water management system. Some people have suggested that it's maybe the elevation of Vine Brook backflowing into Catch Basin 13, which seems to be a direct connection there, but it floods in other places. This is a situation that's begging for an engineered solution before you start throwing more money at it. And, the only thing this screams out to me is you need to hire a company that does a competent analysis, because if you don't know the cause of the thing, you're going to be throwing money at something that is just wasting your money, unfortunately. That's just a reaction to what I'm hearing. So take it for what it's worth. It's not a solution, but I think without knowing the cause, you don't want to throw money at it.
So what I'm hearing is there's no solution right now. What I'm hearing is that it's gotta be fixed for many reasons. One, it's an eyesore, but two, and most important for me, it's a dangerous situation. Three, that we've got to come up with a solution in the next couple of months before it gets cold, before it gets icy again, and before it gets really dangerous. I just want to continue this and have you come back in, what would be 60 days?
I would let them dictate
yeah.
it to.
Dictated, but it
reasonable
can't,
timing.
it can't come on forever. I mean, it cannot continue forever, sometime during the end of the summer.
Ed, what is,
Excuse me, can I interrupt and ask a question? Wasn't there, weren't we talking about another location that the pavement subsided in the same general area because it's a,
That's correct.
so is that not possibly something that we should be looking at, they should be looking at?
I think they need to take a look at whatever is gonna
Whatever,
fix the issue.
we can't instruct them what to do. All we can tell them is, it gotta be done, and it's gotta be done.
Well, they may have done it, I didn't know, but I'm just saying, you know, I haven't been here for 15 years, but listening and reading and thinking about what I'm hearing, I'm thinking, that's kind of where the first place I would start, because it seems like it's free. Two, we had a similar situation in the similar location, and two, it may remedy the problem that we're all trying to fix. So,
Mr. Chair,
Please.
the discussion about a temporary fence or some solution.
Well, I think that we gotta give them a chance, because they've been working in there. And if not, I think before the end of the summer, if there's no solution, then maybe we need to close off that parking lot. I hate to say it, but when it gets cold, it gets icy, and when it gets icy, it gets dangerous. And you know that yourself. I've been told, you put your snow there, you know, and if you're gonna put your snow there, then it should be shut down. So I don't know what to say here, except to continue this. I think that's the fair thing to do, is continuous, and have, as Mr. Cohen has suggested, and our professionals have said, you need to figure this out, because, as I said at the beginning, it's a nice plaza, except when it's underwater. And you look at the picture. Look at the picture. Look how much water is there.
How long do you guys think you need to come back with a solution for us?
Well,
90 days?
I'm not sure there's gonna be a solution, but if we can have,
How about an update maybe in 2 months?
Yeah.
In September?
sure, if we could, it's almost July, so perhaps come back at your September meeting.
First meeting in
First
September.
meeting in September, or.
As long as you're gonna start something, because if you say to
well-
us in September, the first meeting is September, well, we'll do this in the spring, it's not gonna happen.
Well, I think it's gonna take some time for us to, there's been a couple of suggestions here tonight as to, geez, maybe does the spillway have anything to do with it? Could it be that the parking lot is actually lower than, what the design of it was supposed to be? Is that, similar to the Duluth Trading Center there next door, but, which I hadn't heard of before, that was remedied in that manner, but, it'll at least gives us time to kind of explore a couple of things and have more of a discussion with the folks in town, which we're committed to doing. We don't want the situation to continue, so.
We have a Board of Health meeting on August the 23rd, and we have a Board of Health meeting on September the 13th.
Mr. Chairman, could I request either the 23rd or the second meeting in September?
Sure. I'd say August 23rd is a good date
Why don't you come back and give us an update on the 23rd?
of August.
No, August, 23rd of August. That's 2 months, okay?
Okay.
And if,
And just, while the Concom is here too, whatever they come up with, the solution is gonna have to go through
Sure.
conservation.
that's
as
why I
well.
said the 23rd,
It
because
could take a while, I guess, even if they come up with this.
Yeah, but I wanna see the ball being moved and
Yeah.
not just another 6 years go by, and we still have an issue. I also, we're here to help you, right? This is, like I said, this is not personal, we just want it fixed, right? And if we have to have a series of subcommittee meetings with Concom present or DPW present, we're happy
we'll
to
do
do
it.
those.
We'll be happy to do it. I'll be happy to meet with you at any time. That comes out of probably the Development Committee, which is you and I, and Development, and so I'll ask Mr. Cohen if we will invite you to those subcommittees, to a subcommittee meeting. Would you be willing to attend, as you always do? And please consider this a priority if they come up with a solution, because we want to fix this before winter, or at least begin it. So I would like a motion to continue this to the to the meeting, to the Board of Health meeting in August. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
A motion
Second.
by Andrea, second by Mary Beth. Any other discussion? Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
500. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I did not want to make this confrontational.
No, I appreciate that.
We gotta work together and make it work.
Right, and I appreciate Susan and Christine's time as well, trying to interact and try to figure it out. So we'll be back in August and update you at that time. So,
Awesome.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks, have a great night.
John, Larry, and Tom, thank you so much for coming. Thank you. It's nice to see our professionals helping us out. We're down to staff reports. Christine, do you have a staff report? I know that you're under the weather.
Yeah, there should be a staff report in your book.
Okay.
Materials.
You want
You want
to
to
present
present
something?
something?
Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
We can.
Okay, because I'm doing video with my computer and I'm phoned in on audio, so things weren't going technologically very well. I just wanted to, there was a section in my report about a release abatement measure plan that was submitted for the proposed PFAS building at Millpond Water Treatment Plant. And that was during exploratory soil sampling, they found an isolated area of arsenic in the soil. They were doing the exploratory soil sampling because they knew that they were going to have excess material when they built both the PFAS treatment building itself and the associated pump house for the PFAS building. And it's in that area of the proposed PFAS pump house that they found a isolated area of arsenic slightly above the MCP S1 standards. So they went on to do further characterization and have determined that about 500 cubic yards of arsenic impacted soils will need to be exported from the site, and it'll go to a landfill as daily cover. It's been pre-characterized and pre-accepted for off-site disposal. The source of that arsenic is unknown, but it is expected that it arrived at the site as historic fill. And then there was also a minor engineering change for that same address, the Millpond Water Treatment Plant, and that is simply they discovered that due to the soil conditions, they need to move the pump house about 125 feet. So just very minor, but that's what I had for an update based on the report, but I'll take any questions on the remainder of my report.
So actually, just on that, Christine, thank you, Mr. Chair, sorry. There's no concern that that's potentially contaminate the reservoir at all, the arsenic?
Well, no, so it's down gradient of the reservoir, so there's no mechanism for it to make it for the arsenic to travel that way. They also did some groundwater sampling and didn't find any arsenic at levels of concern in local groundwater, but the groundwater in the area flows away from the reservoir.
Right, and the
it's
second
also,
question.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, they also did arsenic soil sampling at other areas on the site, like where the PFAS treatment building is going. And again, it was just this isolated area over behind the existing treatment plant where they found, a localized bit of arsenic soil.
Gotcha.
But again, also nothing in the groundwater, that sampling they did.
And do you know when they're gonna start or get the PFAS pump house completed? Is that still targeted for the end of this year?
I don't know about completion because I mean, they still haven't started construction to my knowledge. So I guess we should have grabbed John, Mr. Sanchez
I
while
was
he
thinking
still
about
had.
that when he was here, yeah.
They still need to do
But,
the study, so I'm still waiting for the report on the pilot study. So John promised me when that pilot study is finished, he's gonna give me the report. So I can provide an update on the report.
Yes, they don't know which method they're gonna use to remove the PFAS.
Oh, I
yet.
thought they already did.
Oh, yeah, they're going, so there's two, they're definitely gonna use the carbon.
Yeah, carbon
Right.
filter.
Yeah.
And, maybe they wanna leave room for a secondary.
Yeah.
In the event that, they
There's
need it
always-
down the road, or they, there's an issue with the carbon or something, so.
Gotcha.
But that all is gonna come out in the pilot study, because these are the generalized treatment options.
But then it's specific to the site, so that's why they always need to do the pilot study to find out those answers.
It's gonna be a while. So just before we get off that, Christine, are they doing any blasting there?
I don't know. I think when they came before us, we asked the question and they said they might have to do, not blasting, but, they'll have to hammer out the side of the slope that comes, not the basin, the reservoir itself, but there's that large slope that comes down the side of the driveway to get up to the top of the reservoir, and part of that, bottom of that will have to be like jackhammered out, but I think they said no blasting.
Yeah, because
I don't, matter of fact, I think they said blasting would not be a good thing.
Yeah,
Like they were drilling holes when I went by there, and I wasn't sure if they were drilling holes to blast or drilling holes just to crack the rock, the bedrock. I'm not sure it's bedrock, just surface rock.
We can follow up on that, or response on that too, when we get an updated timeline for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only comment I had is the work looks like it started around the old Burlington Auto Supply, or if I'm gonna date myself, the Fanny Farmer candy factory.
I remember that.
Wow. Because they have all the hay bales out and there's some work going on in the back there, so it's good to see.
So you're talking about 207 Cambridge Street?
Cambridge Street, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know the
I guess
number, I guess it's 207, yeah.
It used to be the auto supply. Yeah, I can check on that too.
Yeah, no, I saw it started, that was my comment, looks like it started, they put, there's a backhoe of some sort there and some, looks like, what do you call it, sediment fence and hay bales there.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, looks good.
Anybody else? I have one quick question. Do we have any follow-up? Do you have any follow-up with the mosquito spraying and the chemical exposure sensitivity situation?
I do not. I inquired with, our mosquito control program about what is required of the private companies that do the spraying. And basically, they just are required to use licensed pesticide applicators and register with the state. There's no further control over that. And then I did also inquire of our, of Eastern Middlesex Mosquito Control Project if they were aware of any towns that did any oversight or, I don't know, regulation of those types of private companies. And they said they had not heard of any.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
There are no other questions? Could I please have a motion to?
Motion to approve?
Motion approves. Andrew, second? Second by Gail. All in favor? Aye. Which brings me to the Associate Director of Public Health.
Yeah, good evening, Chair. I'd like to just highlight on my report under emergency planning, BVRC, we had started a new process for the MRC submissions for their BP4, what they're calling next year's requirements and everything. And they're changing the process from what they've usually done. I guess in the past it was mostly paper submissions. Now they almost have an online survey wizard that we can go through, and depending on what we want to submit to them, it'll generate kind of the questions and answers that they're required and the documents that we need to upload. It seemed to be a very intuitive system. I think it'll work really well. Worked on that with Susan, and so we got that submitted. So waiting back from them. Once they review it, it'll go to the state. And yeah, we've got some good focus areas for next year, and just the submission process was new, but hopefully our MRC will benefit from some of the new initiatives we got.
Does anybody have any questions for our Associate Director? I
Mr.
don't.
Chair?
Yeah, please.
I know you added the survey for the health fair, but for folks who may not have looked at it, do you think you could just give a little overview?
Is that you?
No,
Susan?
Mike.
Okay, good.
Yep, so we did, I think we did 3 separate surveys. So we did a survey for our MRC volunteers, we did a survey for our vendors who participated, then we did a survey for those who attended. We got, I think, 30%-ish response from the folks who attended. But overall, I think it was really great feedback on the surveys. And we kind of hot washed after the event, Susan and I. And so what came in kind of reflected what we had gone over, what worked well, what hadn't. Having 50 vendors seemed to be great for some. Some people wanted more. We're always working on that, who shows up, but we're definitely reaching out to as many businesses in the surrounding communities and our community as we can to bring a bunch of exciting stuff in there. So we do have a few things to work on, kind of coordination, I think, with our rec department, kind of making it feel a little more incorporated with what they had done and kind of what we had gone with our vendors. But yeah, those surveys had some positive feedback, and most of it was positive, but the few suggestions they made, we're definitely going to incorporate into next year's event.
The question I was going to ask, were there any surprises?
I was pleasantly surprised by the weather. It was a little damp in the morning, but it got nice. It did get a little hot during cleanup, but I was happy to at least have the event, so that was the big unknown for me.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, could I have a motion to approve the Associate Director of Public Health report?
Motion to
Motion by
approve.
Andrew, second by
Second.
Mary Beth. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, it brings me to the Director of Public Health. Now, we'll do as we usually do. We have the Health Agent, Associate Health Inspector, Supervisory Nurse, all have submitted reports. So let's go through them, and then we'll go to the Director's report, and then we'll vote on it as one. So, the Health Agent first. Is there any questions with the Health Agent?
I have one, Mr. Chair. Is this an enormous amount of inspections?
No.
No?
I
It
mean,
seems-
well, we are doing pool inspections now in the summertime, so they've been busy with the pool inspections. So maybe it seems like
It just
this is
seems like
more
an
because it's
increase,
now,
and
but
I just-
the food inspections,
No,
Marlene, she kind of spreads it out over the year so that everybody gets the required amount of inspections. Some is once per year, some is twice per year. But they are a little bit busier now with the pools, and Sam's been doing more animal inspections, now during the renewal period, but not any extra on
All
the
right, I thought, my first observation that it seemed to increase, and I was
Marlene may have taken more because Sam was doing the pools or, yeah.
And it was more asking if it had, if it was manageable with the staff?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question along that same line, unless anyone else.
I had a question too, but
Please.
I'll wait.
Okay. They did, looks like around 70+ inspections, which is a lot. But, you know, I've asked this question in the past, and this month seems to be a little high, as I agree, in terms of re-inspections. Marlene had 40% re-inspections or so, or somewhere 30, 35 or so percent of her. And Samantha had 50% of hers were re-inspections. And I realize that they're probably minor things, but is that normal? I haven't seen the data written this way before, which was great.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever collected data on, you know, the frequency of re-inspections, but I would imagine that's gonna go up and down depending upon what's happening at the food establishment when they're there. One thing that anecdotally they have told me is that, you know, now that we're coming out of COVID and they're starting to do, you know, get back on the regular routine, they're noticing more things now. So hopefully over time, you know, the amount of re-inspections will go down, but I can't say, you know, one way or the other because it's just kind of up and down, and it all depends on what's happening in the establishment when they're there.
So, and then one of the issues is the sewer lines at Shaw's. That really caught me off guard.
The what?
The sewer line, grease in the sewer line at Shaw's, are you aware of that? Or should we go back to that some other time?
Yeah, that was came in through the DPW. John Sanchez actually notified me that they had some issues down the line and that they were concerned about the grease in Shaw's. So Marlene followed up with them, called them. I believe that, and I don't have her report in front of me, but she had found that there was a reason for that, and we don't expect that there's gonna be any more grease in the line. But that happens as well, and the DPW is really good about notifying us. And we go out to the establishment and we check their logs and we talk to them about, you know, hey, you had grease in the line. It's not always, you know, oh, there was a problem with their log, or we can identify a specific problem, but we go over with them, you know, how to clean off pans and best management practices to kind of avoid getting grease into the line.
I just had a question about the Blackbird Cafe violations and the re-inspection. I don't know if you can speak specifically to it, but it's in the
I would have to see
plaza.
the inspection report, like, yeah.
I'm just curious about it because it's in the plaza where the flooding is. Like, does it have any connection to?
The flooding? Oh, no, I would know that,
I was just
yeah.
wondering, like.
Oh, does it have, no,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, which brings us to the health agent, which we sort of, did we do?
Oh, okay.
Anything in the health agent or the health inspectors, or any other any questions on that?
Did we already, was that the nurses? We already
No, we
did the
haven't,
nurses?
they're getting to the nurse.
Okay.
Let's get those two, the inspectors first.
Okay.
Okay, nothing there, and now the supervisory nurse. Any questions? When is her last day?
September, first week in September.
So we
It's the
are
second.
going to have to
Yeah.
get busy.
Well, we've gotten, yeah, we've gotten a minimal amount of resumes.
Yep.
But I wanted to move forward with those and get the subcommittee together for, interviewing. So
Okay.
I know Mary Beth was interested. I don't
Good.
know if anybody else is interested.
Okay. I'll handle that, if not, I can.
Okay.
And I agree with Susan, even though it's September, just to,
It's always been difficult.
yep,
It's always been difficult.
It's a tough role to fill.
It's a tough
It
role
is.
to fill for many, many reasons in town. It's a tough role to fill. And where are we advertising? That's always the issue.
Yes.
Where are we advertising? And if you'd like me to call the HR director, I have gotten involved in that many times. Last time I did, we found someone in Minnesota. Unfortunately, he wasn't a nurse. But we found him in Minnesota when I really pushed.
it was a
And,
good candidate.
Yeah.
You never know where he'll pop up.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we.
I did speak to her, actually today about getting another resume, and, about a week or so ago regarding refreshing the ads on the regular sites like Simply Hired and Monster. And, she did refresh them. or Indeed is the one. So she refreshed them, but we haven't gotten any resumes in response to that. Myself, I know there's a lot of jobs on those sites.
A lot,
Yeah.
yeah.
But and what, also for discussion, a lot of, school just ended in May or June. Usually a prep to take the NCLEX is anywhere from 2 to 3 months, and we might be looking at more of young in career and under an amazing mentor, Susan.
Well,
So-
we have hired people without their license or came close to in the past. So it's a lot of, good idea, thank you.
I just wanted to highlight one thing, just segue from licensing and certification. Our associate health inspector, Sam Hardy, did take her registered environmental health specialist, registered sanitarian examination and passed.
Oh,
Oh, great.
so,
It's wonderful.
please,
She's been a great hire too.
Yeah.
great hire. I guess I can say it now, is that please extend our congratulations to her. I'll go see her, and next time we're all in the office, go see her and congratulate. It's a tough exam,
Does cover a lot.
does tell a lot. So that's wonderful. So we're done, anything else? So now we go to the Director of Public Health. Do we have any questions for her?
So just to add what's going on in the office, we received our state supply of the COVID test kits. So we have around 5,000 test kits in the office. We just had, each test kit needed to have a sticker be put on it because the expiration on the kit is actually not the actual expiration date of the test kit. It actually is 2 or 3 months after it. So they asked us to put these stickers on the front with a QR code that people could scan to get more information about the expiration date of the kits. So we have reached out to the town employees. We had 12 volunteers come in on Monday, and they put the stickers on all 5,000 kits for us in probably about an hour and a half, and it was great. We got it all done. So all the kits are all ready to go. We started giving them out to town employees. If there are any residents that want kits, they can come into the Board of Health office and they get 2 kits per family. And just come in and we're giving them out that way. I'm also looking at other ways to kind of distribute the kits. So we have reached out to some apartment complexes so that they can message their residents. We've reached out to Youth and Family Services and people that they service. We're informing them. We're trying to kind of reach populations that may have more of a need to get the kits, or maybe not the means to go out and buy the kits. So we started there, but we are going to start going to some events with the kits, some things going on at COA, some things going on at the library. I'm going to save some for Celebrate
people.
Burlington. The food pantry, that was another thing we were thinking about, giving them out. They have a particular day where they're busier than others when people come and pick up the food. So we were going to look at having a volunteer go there and just, give out the kits. Instead of just giving here, take these kits, we'll have the volunteer go and do it and give out the kits to people as
Is
they
there
go
any
out.
instructions if people are positive that go along with them?
Yeah, and that's in the QR code. So that's another reason we're putting the QR code. It's not only has to do with the expiration date, but it has to do, what do I do if I'm positive? Because in the kit itself, it's just instructions. I'm sure you've seen the kits. It's really just instruction on how to use the kits. But the QR code provides a lot more information, in particular to the state. So that's something that's going to be going on, and we're going to put a PSA out. I hope to do it this week, just to the general public. I'm not going to do a reverse 911 or a code red because, we don't have that many kits. We've got the kits that were provided to us from the state, and they base that on needs or whatever. I don't know how they come up with the number, but the state is the one that decides how many kits each community is going to get.
Does the senior center have a supply of them?
So reached out to every department, and if they wanted, like, the director wanted kits, like, to have down on hand, we're providing them with that. So if someone came in and wanted to get a kit, she could give it out to them. But we're gonna try to target some of the events. I think, mainly they're having a farmer's market with about 50 people that come.
Nice.
So the farmer's market seems like a good, avenue to give out the kits, and they have about 50 seniors who come to that. So that's one event that I definitely wanna have us go to give out some of the
What
kits.
is there,
I didn't even know we had that.
It's actually not like the farmer's market that you think
there
of,
used
like
to
we
be.
used to have.
Yes.
It's more, so it's provided by Leahy,
Clinic.
and they provide fruits and vegetables, and it's for a select few, so it's not like you can just walk in. They have criteria for being able to pick up the fruits and vegetables. So if you meet that criteria, you get approved, you go every week to pick up the fresh fruits and vegetables.
Sounds like a great program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it's provided through Leahy.
If a citizen in Burlington wants to get a kit, do they have to provide any information or show their license or anything? Or they just come in and just say, I need 2 kits?
We're not like asking for proof of identification or anything like that, or that you live in Burlington. We're just targeting, Burlington areas, Burlington groups, and, where Burlington residents are gonna see it.
So let's talk about requests for funding. We have the Emergent Preparedness A and B, 4A and B. What did we request money for? How much this year?
So that was what Mike was talking about. That's the MRC budget. It's around $7,000. So we submitted the budget to them. July 1st, you're supposed to get the funds. We'd never get the funds by July 1st. So, but I earmarked certain funds for that, which is in the budget. Some supplies, mainly trainings. So we have quite a few trainings coming up. And one of them was first aid and bloodborne pathogens. We want to have that type of training.
Are we going to have psychological emergencies again?
Yeah, psychological first aid. That's going to be paid for, though, through the RISE grant that I
Okay,
got.
from the RISE.
So we've been approved for the RISE grant for $25,000.
Right.
And again, I submitted everything, but they're behind. And now they're saying the deadline's been pushed out, so I don't know when we're gonna get those funds, but we've been approved for them. And same thing with, I know you're gonna ask about the
I'm going to
shared
ask about the shared
services.
services, which is over $1 million.
And I haven't heard from them yet either. Evidently, they're behind as well. And they told me, a couple of weeks ago, in a couple of weeks probably, and I haven't heard anything. So,
Yeah, I'll tell you. Anyway.
so we have a lot of funds, lined up, but.
checks in the mail?
Yeah.
And we are planning, if we do get the shared services grant, I've already spoken to the town administrator about the possibility of some more office space and, so hopefully we can keep our fingers crossed. That is over $1 million, 3 years. So that would be really something, would be major. And if we do get that grant, it would be a major announcement. So keep your ears open. You let everyone and I'll let everyone know. So.
And so Mike is gonna be getting more involved in the MRC this year with the training schedule, the budget, the executive committee, and everything that goes on with the MRC. So he's starting to do that, and he's looking, so as part of that grant, you have to identify 3 focus areas. So we identified those as like increased training, which is, we're gonna try to, put in that, the Board of Health thing as part of that, and diversity, a focus on diversity
Board of
and
Health thing
equity.
is a faculty.
The faculty, yeah, that you were discussing, which we haven't really come up with an exact name, I don't think. That was the thing, the
I did some
subcommittee, we
revisions
wanted
on that,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, we've got to meet on that. We've got to meet on that.
Yeah,
and talk
because
about them.
now that's tied into the budget of the MRC as well.
I've been working in it
Yeah.
with that again. And then, do we have a date for the psychiatric
We
emergency?
do, it's in November, I don't know exact date offhand, but we have
November 5th,
scheduled.
maybe?
Okay, and it's it's on a Saturday at Grandview Farm.
Oh,
So
good. It's gonna be
a
one day.
long- Yeah.
8 hours.
Right now, we're in the process of trying to figure out how to get CEUs for that. And that's, I've had Chris Pollock working on that, I probably saw it in her report, you'll see it next time. But, that's been a difficult process trying to figure out how to get CEUs for social workers. Nurses, it's not so hard. I think we can do that, but for social workers, and behavioral health people, it's a little bit more difficult, so I have to kind of figure that out.
I can help you,
Okay,
okay? You use a third party
and pay them,
and pay them.
yes.
It's unfortunately, it's a whole industry. It's a whole industry.
Maybe we can use some of the grant money for that.
Maybe. I can talk to her about that. Anything else?
With the increased educational mental health stuff, could teachers get CEUs for that training?
I don't
If they
know.
attend it?
I don't know. I've taken 3 of them now, and they are all outstanding. And the last one we did, we had actors come in from Boston University put it on. We had actors come in, and we actually had hands-on work with the actors, and it was absolutely amazing.
Wow.
We also had suicide programs over many weeks. We have had psychiatric stuff done with gender, and we've done quite a few of these. And I find them very rewarding and very interesting. And I urge you all to take it. I know it'll be a whole day. It'll be a whole 8 hours, but I urge you all to sign up for it because it's fascinating. And it can be used in a lot of different situations that we get involved in. So, thank you so much, Mr. Green. If there's nothing else, a motion to approve the Director of Public Health report, and that includes the other positions of Associate Health Inspector, Health Agent, and Supervisory Nurse.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mary Beth, second by Ms. McSweeney, all in favor? Aye. 5-0-0. Well, that's it. Again, we're on summer schedule. Again, we're always here. Again, we have a terrific website. Again, we're only a phone call away, and that not only means the Board of Health office, but also we, as members of the Board of Health, feel free to call us. Be well, take care, and be safe. With that, I have a motion by Mr. McSweeney to adjourn, second by Andrew, all in favor? Aye. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Be well. Great meeting, thank you so much, everybody.
I'm on, dude.
We're out, we're done.